Okay, today I'm gonna combine 3 of my favorite things. Chewing gum, you're gonna see me chew gum through this whole thing. Sorry, it's a terrible habit, but I love doing it. With beautifying underutilized spaces. I love a garden alley, absolutely love it. Love, love, love. And that's not a garden, that's a patch of weeds. And third thing, finding homes for plants that are underappreciated. We like to call these babies here ditch lilies because they grow in all the ditches in Indiana, and they have beautiful blooms. They spread crazy, and that's the problem in the yard. They spread like crazy. So I had to take these out of the yard, and now, third favorite thing, gonna find them a new home. I'll be back. I have 3 tools for this job of removing weeds, because that's the first step. This is called a D-hoe. Look how it looks like the letter D. Woohoo! For bigger and more serious weeds, I have my favorite tool of all, my root slayer. Wait. For smaller weeds that need more personal attention, garden knife. And just in case I should find a use for it, my regular hoe. So what I'm doing is pulling out the big weeds by hand. If they don't come out on the first yank, because the soil's a little dry, I get in there with this garden knife. If that doesn't work, get in there with my root slayer. Once I have the big weeds out, I'm gonna hoe across the top of the surface with my D-hoe. Whoops, there's a D. My D-hoe. Looks more like a D this way, doesn't it? But backwards. In any case. And once I have all the weeds out, then I'm gonna start planting. All right, something you need to be ready for when you dig in an alley: glass. Glass. That's why if you're digging with your hands, you need to wear gloves so you don't cut yourself on the glass. I'm digging with tools, so I'm okay. Okay, let's start down here. This is the after. Lilies don't look too good, do they? A little bit of water, a few weeks in the ground, they'll perk right up. I'll show you in a couple weeks, trust me, they'll look fine. This is weeded and mulched. And this is what it looked like before. I have enough lilies, there I am. I have enough lilies to finish it, and I will, but it's 3 o'clock and I have a 3:30 appointment, so I need to go get cleaned up and get on the road. More later. Hey there! So today what we're doing is a little guerrilla gardening. It's like guerrilla warfare, but with plants. So what I have are a bunch of what we call ditch lilies. I had to dig them out of my yard. There were some in a place where we wanted to put some iris, so those came out. And they're pretty aggressive growers, and they were getting a little overgrown in their spot. Took all those out, dug holes for them yesterday. I'll tell you where in just a second. Today, I cleaned out all the lilies around the air conditioning unit because they were strangling it. And these are no longer called ditch lilies. We call them that in Indiana because they grow in the ditches. These are now alley lilies because this is my alley. Here, look, there's my alley. There's a red building, there's the alley. Woohoo! But, oh, are you getting dizzy? So right behind me in this alley is this really ugly patch of weeds. Ugly. And if anybody can say there is a beneficial plant in there, I will eat my hat. On camera, you can all watch me. I will chew it up and eat it. Because they look like weeds to me. That's what they look like. I don't see anything in there that looks like something hummingbirds would like, or pollinators would like there's no pretty flowers, there's no nectar, nothing. But I could be wrong. So please feel free to straighten me out. What I'm gonna do instead is I'm gonna put my lilies in there, and you can see I started yesterday. I got about halfway done yesterday, put a little mulch on them, watered them real good. I'm gonna finish up today, and I'm gonna let you watch. How exciting is that? I'm gonna try and speed it up. I don't know if I can. Okay, so the weeds are all cleaned out. I've cleaned up the mess. I've raked it a little. Now I'm going to dig some holes. I think I'm going to lay my lilies out along the alley first so I can see how many holes I need to dig. So I've laid out my lilies, and I think I have enough to just dig a trench. So I think that's what I'm going to try and do. Okay, I've made my ditch. I've laid my lilies out in the ditch. Now I'm going to put a lot of water in the ditch because this soil is really dry and I want to give these guys a good start. Okay. So see these things? These are the tubers. This is what needs to be underneath the ground. It's not a tuber. Just kidding. It is a tuber. And these will need to be under the ground. So what I'm going to do, I've got them all lined up in my trench. I got my trench nice and wet. That's just a dead leaf. And I'm going to cover these guys up, and then I'm going to water them some more, and then I'm going to put some mulch on them. Okay, my trench is all wet. My lilies are all laid down. I'm going to put on my knee pads, and fill in the trench. Okay, one more thing to do. Some people are going to ask why I didn't plant natives. The reason I didn't plant natives is I didn't have a bunch of leftover natives that didn't have a home. No brown-eyed Susans, no Joe Pye weed, no native grasses. I didn't have that. I had lilies. And it's the alley, and the lilies are going to make it look better. I also didn't plant a food crop because it's the alley. There's so much pollution in this dirt, I wouldn't eat what grew out of it. I also needed something that was very, very, very durable, and these, what are now coined alley lilies, are. They will tolerate swampy conditions, they will tolerate drought conditions, they're virtually pest-free, and they'll look pretty when they bloom. But for all of you who want me to put a native plant in, look what I have for you. Joe Pye weed. And if you look really closely, you can see, covered with aphids. I need some praying mantis or some ladybugs. I know there's some in the yard, but not enough to take care of this. So this stuff grows in the mossy margin of my waterfall. And I don't want it to grow there because the roots will break up the pond edge and it'll be a problem. So I'm going to put these in, and you can watch if you want. All right, so Joe Pye weed. Let's see if we can squirt off some of these aphids and give the guy a chance. Oh yeah, that's better. Let's turn this way, tip you down a little. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. So this is a great job for a garden knife because the roots on this guy, there's not much. So what we're going to do, let's go right here. I'll move back the soil. I'm going to dig down with my garden knife. I'm going to kind of sort of make a little wedge-shaped hole. This guy's going to go right in there. I'm going to fill that hole with water. We're going to fill that hole with water. Give you a little start. I'm going to go ahead and do another one. Actually, let's not do another one. I feel like we've had enough for today, right? All right. So, guerrilla gardening. Don't do it in your neighbor's yard without talking to him first. This is an alley that nobody cares about, so I think I'm safe here. I'll tell you a quick little story. We had some friends that had an Asian pear tree, and it had never been cared for, it had never been pruned. It was covered with fruit, and they didn't even harvest the fruit. And because they're friends, this was okay to do. So we go the next day after the party, because we know they're gone. They mentioned at the party where they're going somewhere. We bring our loppers, our little hand saws, and our pruners, and we clean up that tree, and we pick all the fruit. And there are some branches that are so big that we tie them to a dead tree out front. So they get home that night, and they think we have given them a new tree in their front yard. We did leave them several bushels of Asian pears. We took several bushels home, and it was a happy ending for everyone. So if you have some friends who need a little guerrilla gardening, go get them.